I'll let them introduce themselves as well, because some I don't know as well, but she graduated from KCC and moved on to her degree at Manoa. Is a working mother, and and I'll let you introduce the rest. On her right is John Luguwai. I met him this morning. He works at ʻIKE, but he's got some big ideas and a lot of good experience that and insights that I think he can share. And to his right is Oceana, Dr. Oceana Francis. She was just hired this past semester, I believe, at the College of Engineering at UH Manoa. And at the far end is Timothy Lumye. He works at HDR on wastewater engineering, I believe, and actually is not from Hawaii but hails from Anchorage but has Hawaii ties. And so one of the things I wanted to explore in this panel is, how did you get where you got? Where are you from? How did you get where you are now? What were some of the bigger challenges? And not just what were they, but how did you get through them? Because I did my undergraduate in engineering. You hit some walls and you need to be able to get through them. So I have some form questions, and then we'll let them introduce themselves. We'll have some questions, and then we'll open the floor for questions from the audience. Sound good? Okay, so John's saying start on Tim's side. So Tim, all those mics are already in, if you can share it, but introduce what you would like to share about yourself to this younger generation of engineers.
Hi everyone. It's really great meeting you all this morning. My name is Timothy. I came here about 10 years ago from Anchorage, Alaska. I have Hawaii ties here. I really like the approach to this panel, and we were told that this is really like a pathways panel, and I really like that mentality because we're not really here just to say, okay, this is what we're doing right now, but really like our journey, and that's what it's all about. So just real brief, I actually came here, and I came here for school, but I also came here because I really wanted to learn more about my family. I felt like a big part of my identity was missing before coming here. And when I came here, I never expected to have learned so much from, not only from my family, my relatives, but the people here. And they really helped me become the engineer, the person that I am today. And so I guess we'll go a little bit more into detail later, but I look forward to speaking to you about how I went into engineering. And I guess I'm going to pass it on.
Aloha, Oceana Punani Francis. I'm born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii, specifically Salt Lake. So I grew up here. My family's from here. My mother is Kanaka Maoli. My father is Haole from New England area. And for high school, I moved away and went to high school in the mainland, and then also for college, and then moved to Alaska for college and work at school. So it's good to be back, and I'm here to answer questions or participate in the panel. Looking forward to meeting all of you, and so thank you.
Hi, John Luguwai. I'm from Maui. I was in the School of Engineering at Manoa in 1979. I lasted about a year and a half, and then I did change my major and took a sabbatical for a little while, and I ended up graduating from UH Hilo with several minors and a degree in computer science. My first job out of college, I was a power plant shift and supervisor in a sugar mill. And I've been in the energy industry and engineering portion of it for maybe 25 years now. And I'm currently a senior engineer with Hawaiian Electric, and I do renewable energy development for Hawaiian Electric on Oahu.
Hi everyone, my name is Kawai Mar. I'm from the North Shore of this island. I went to Kuhuku. After after high school, I went to KCC for about 7 years before. I went to UH. At KCC, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the STEM program up there when they were starting off. So they provided me with a support network for my engineering degree at UH. So I transferred to UH, graduated about 4 years ago from UH, and I currently work as an engineer for Kiewit, as a construction company. I really like what I do, and I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm really excited about these programs that have been coming out over the past couple of years to encourage STEM with the younger generations, because when I was coming up through college, there was no programs. Josh's program, Kapiolani's program, they're both starting, so there was no programs in place to kind of guide me through my journey and help me along. So it's exciting that there's something out there for the younger generation.
Aloha kako. So Jonathan Ching, I grew up in Mililani here until I was about 8 years old. Then I moved to Maui and grew up in partially in Ka Hana Ka IKE and Napili. So I had two sides of my family, Hawaiian Chinese and Hawaiian Chinese, English, Irish, Portuguese, French. So again, I have a little bit of it all, mixed bag. But it was interesting because I grew up between real city life and somebody who's, the family was really education driven. And the other side was very country and fishing, farming, hunting, etc. Kind of, the countryside of things. And I think the reason why I say that is because I think that a lot of the individuals who come in as native Hawaiians in science, those experiences are very important to integrate into it. I think what I like about the ʻIKE, the indigenous knowledge, bringing that to the science, the ʻIKE ku'una, the ʻIKE papalo, all those things that we are taught from our ancestors are inherent mana and stuff. Mixing it with the acquired mana is really cool. So for me, my process was, I started also at Kalehua in electrical engineering in 1992. And at that time I was too young and not focused, so I ended up getting out of the program. Long story short, I ended up going back into actually Kalehua's cousin talked me into getting back into school because he's an electrical engineer and and he was pretty successful at what he was doing. So he encouraged me to follow my dreams and passion, so I had to reevaluate what that was. Anyway, in order to get to that, I got into architecture. I thought, well, architecture is simpler than engineering, easier than engineering, I thought. Math-wise, yes, but other things are, you know a lot about a lot. But the cool part, I think, that I'd like to really instill in everybody is trying to work with your peers while you're in school to get ready for the network you need to build when you're out of school. And I was fortunate enough to be in Josh's program, NHSEMP, through my graduate work. And as part of that, he helped me to find a job with other, Kahui Viola was a scholarship program that I helped work with a lot of the people who are in this room, including Aurora, Josh, Irvine, who you might have seen outside, Native Hawaiians in Science. And I just want to just say one more time that I think these programs and the development of these programs are increasing the opportunities for you folks. And as us now being in the outside and being able to hire people with this kind of ʻIKE is a very powerful niche that you're becoming a part of. And I think people from the continent and other companies internationally are looking for this kind of mindset of indigenous knowledge in the sciences. So, long intro.
So I apologize, I'm flustered, but so at least you can smell nice during your session. I'm sorry to break the flow. But I'm trying to do too many things at once, including first question to all of you is, and some of you might have touched on it, but one question I think is important is what inspires you? If you can each kind of go through, or someone take the lead on what is it that has inspired you to do what you're doing now, or in general?
Okay, what inspires me really is perseverance, and I guess passion, and I saw that today in your guys' presentation. I think one of the things that you want to remember as you're going through your careers and as you're studying is that, I mean, of course you want to study hard, and intellect is very important, but you also want to make sure that never to give up, and to always have perseverance no matter what comes your way. And always go back to why you decided to go into engineering, which is your passion. And if you really go into that and just remind yourself, then I think that will help you become very successful.
That's a great answer, Tim. I agree with that. Passion. Just a little bit about my background. I'm the only one from my family on both sides, my dad's side, the Haole side, and the Hawaiian side, that ever got their PhD. So if I can do it, any of you can do it, okay? It just takes determination. I don't think it takes, like, you don't have to be a brilliant genius, just have determination, hard work and determination. And try to get good mentors along the way, no matter what their background is. They can come in all shapes and sizes. So try to find good mentors too. Thanks.
Inspiration. I think it goes back from how you're raised and life experiences you go through. Going into engineering is to actually make a difference and be creative. You know, that's where everything that's accomplished in the past, in the present, and towards the future, engineers had a lot to do with it, and it goes back to ancient times. So you draw from different things to inspire you. I think making a difference is the big thing, and making changes that are for the better. That's probably the biggest driving force that why I do what I do today, is to make a difference, you know, in my community. You know, and more engineers are the ones that have to step up and find new, innovative ideas and bring them to make a difference in the community.
Well, the first thing that inspires me is, of course, my children. And, you know, being an engineer, it really allows you the opportunity to look at something, a building, a bridge, a road, a rail system, and say, hey, I was a part of that. I helped make that happen. And it's going to be there forever for them to see, for their children to see, and on it goes. So that's what inspires me.
I think for me, my inspiration comes from many different things, but really growing up and watching your environment change around you in your lifetime, for me is what really drove me to get into architecture and planning. But I do think I see a really great, so what inspires me is our land and our people and the future of our islands. You know, what is home for me is driven what I do with my career or what I did with my educational path. So it took me a long time because my undergrad, you know, 10 years later, I now have a doctorate, and it helps you to make those decisions when it gets tough, when you want to quit, when you think this project is the end of you, or a teacher is giving you a hard time or whatever. You know, sometimes you need that fire inside. And to me, I look around, and when you drive around town, you see the state of things. You know, that's really what I'm really passionate about. But I think I agree with everyone's comments so far about what's important and how to get your inspiration, your passion. And really, I think once you know what's driving you, utilizing your skill sets and what you learn to make those passions still be the drivers within your career path, along with the mentorships, along with your family, along with the community, really is the way to get through it all and keep the passion going, I guess.
So one more question, and then I think I'll open it up to the floor. But how did you end up choosing to do? Some of you may have touched on it, so if you haven't done it yet, but how did you end up choosing your field of interest?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really give everyone here credit for knowing what you want to do or having some interest. For me personally, I didn't know I was going to go into engineering until a few months before I started college. I had a lot of different interests. I loved history, I loved English, I loved music, and I didn't know what to choose. And so I decided to do civil engineering for several reasons. One, I thought engineering, we thought we really needed engineers, and today especially we really need engineers. And then two, I was interested in the topic, and I thought it would be, for me, the most challenging major to do, so that's why I kind of wanted to do that. But I still wasn't really sure if I didn't know if I could become an engineer or if I had what it takes to become one. And then right now I'm focusing mostly on like environmental, and I guess I became interested in that when I took an introduction to environmental engineering class. And that's what really sparked my interest. And ever since then, I was just like, this is what I want to do with my life. Like I want to focus on the environment. And then within that, I became more interested in like water and wastewater, and just really like appreciating water. I don't know, that's just one of the things I'm just like really, really interested in. Just water conservation, water reuse, the ways that we're handling it, providing safe drinking water, not only to Hawaii, but to everyone in the world. And so I guess that's kind of how I got into it.
I always knew I wanted to be a scientist and engineer ever since I was a little kid. So I guess I always knew that was my calling. And I was always in accelerated math classes. I was the only Hawaiian kid in these classes, and I just plugged through school, and when college came, said, okay, I'm going to do physics, science, and astronomy, and then I went into engineering, did civil engineering, then I got my license with a PE, and then went back into science again to become a scientist. So I always knew for me.
Why I went into my field, the main reason even for being in the School of Engineering is I wanted to make money. I also studied philosophy when I was in college, but I knew that having a degree in philosophy would mean that I wasn't going to be making a lot of money. And the first thing I wanted to know was, who were the graduates that were making top dollar coming out of college? And they were the engineers in all the different fields. And there was a pecking order. At one time it was a double E, then it was an environmental. But being an engineer meant that I could maximize my earning potential and earn as much money as I can for myself and for my family. That's the biggest driving force for me to be an engineer and do what I do.
I totally agree with what he said. I mean, in all honesty, I became an engineer because engineers made money, and you're gonna work an 8-hour day. You might as well get paid the most you can for those 8 hours. And I actually really didn't even know what an engineer did until maybe sophomore, junior year. And then I was like, oh, I can do this. So I never really imagined myself as a little girl growing up saying, I'm gonna be an engineer when I grow up. That's what really makes me tick. What really makes me tick is they talk about passion, inspiration. I like to make money. I like to have money, and I like to be able to provide for my family. So when I started the journey on in engineering, I learned that I actually liked it. And going through the classes and going through the curriculum, that's how I got to doing what I do today. I never thought I would, I never ever thought I would be doing this.
I also started in engineering because I thought they made the most money. But then I think over time I realized that at the time I wasn't ready for it. But what I do now, how I've gotten to where I'm at now is the real passion behind engineering for me, I thought at that time was to change the world. Because really, if you look at even what the projects were today, I mean, all those things are world changing. I think the program opened up with somebody saying that engineers run the world and the changes in the world, and I do believe that. So because I wasn't as strong in the math, I thought I could change the world better, serve through my passion for my passions, and in planning and architecture and being able to incorporate engineering into that earlier. Because the most brilliant minds to me come from engineering and science. I mean, all kinds of walks of life, but really the things you see, you use as a human being, what we're surrounded by, is all driven by engineering. So to be a part of that without having to do the math, I'm going to prefer that. Help one, baby.
So, at this point, does anyone have any questions they want to ask?
I wanted to ask about the major obstacles you face for your school.
I had a lot of obstacles. Like seriously, like yeah, it wasn't easy. And there were a few times that I didn't think I wanted, I didn't think I could do it. There's this one story. I don't know if I shared this with anybody before, but like I guess my freshman year went okay, and I was just like, okay, this is good. And my advisor even said like, oh, you're on track. So I was kind of happy. I don't even think my friends know about this, but one of the first engineering classes that I took, which is one of the basics, it was really hard, and I studied crazy for it. And we got our first tests back, and I think I scored like the second lowest on the exam, and I think it was a 19 out of 100, if I remember correctly. And I specifically remember looking at there's this person sitting next to me, and then she scored better than me. It was like, I don't know, maybe 49 out of 100 or something. And she left the program, and I think a few other people did also. And here I was thinking like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? It's like, am I supposed to be quitting as well? But I was like, no, I'm not going to drop. I'm going to stick with it. And so the next exam, I did a little bit better. I think it was still pretty bad though. And then for the final, like I studied crazy for it, and I actually did really well on the final. And then I think it was Christmas time, and I went back home, and then I looked at my grade, and I failed. And so I was so traumatized because I never failed a class ever, and I always did pretty good in school, or at least in high school. And so I don't know, it was. I don't know, it really opened my eyes, and then like, so I studied again, I took the class again, and still had a hard time, and other classes too, and I think that sophomore year I had like the lowest GPA I've ever had in my whole life. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? Like, other people had it super easy, like Joe, he's already smart all the time, like, I study so much, and I was just like not doing it. But I think eventually I just, like I said, just don't give up. Just keep on working at it. And I found a lot of strength in my classmates, honestly. Like, I think that really pulled me through. And another thing about the instructors too, they have to make courses hard so that you learn. And I learned a lot, even though I didn't do good in that class. Like, a lot of the principles that I'm doing today, I learned a lot from that class that I supposedly didn't do that well. But it really was from my classmates. So I want to encourage you, make friends, and help each other out, because that really pulls you through. And that's what pulled me through, support that my classmates gave me. And then, sorry, I don't mean to like monopolize this, but like later on, I just continued to improve a little bit. It wasn't like a huge improvement. I just worked hard and tried to do better. And then later, yeah, my senior year, I did a lot better. And I think I got straight A's my senior year or my last year. And then graduated with honors. And then I worked on an honors thesis too. And it was just like, all of that stuff, I just never could have expected. And so, I really want to encourage all of you, like, you're gonna have some exams, I think, well, hopefully not, but, you know, like where you're gonna be discouraged and stuff, but just like really learn from it, and then just persevere through it, and I'm sure you'll succeed.
Well, I guess I found some obstacles as a woman. Back when I went through school, I mean, this was, as an undergrad, this was about 20 years ago that I was an undergrad. And it's great now, there's a lot more young women that enter engineering, and I love it. But when I was an engineer, actually, I got my physics degree, that was about 20 years ago. Then I went into civil engineering. There was, there's like 30 guys and 3 women. And then in my physics courses, I mean, the upper level ones, it was like just me, the only one, and all dudes. So, and there were no female faculty. And I think it would have been very helpful for me at the time if there were female faculty I could relate to. And a lot of the faculty, they were like Russian men. And they're, I don't know if you've ever dealt with Russians, but they have a very high education system, and they demand a lot from their students. So I had to work with a lot of angry Russian types in the course of maybe it made me a better scientist or engineer because I had to work extra hard. But then also being Native Hawaiian, we're more relaxed, and so I had to really pull myself out of my shell and be more assertive because I was not very assertive, going through college. I was very timid, and so it pulled me out of the shell. So I guess in a way it was a good and bad thing, but I guess it would have been helpful to have female role models when I was going through school. So, and then I had, of course, there were no Native Hawaiian faculty that were in the mainland in Alaska. So, and I did take a lot of part in when I was in Alaska. I took part in ACES, American Indian Science and Engineering Society, and then Alaska Native, the ANSET program, and Alaska Native Science and Engineering program to help mentor American Indians and Alaska Natives. So I'm really excited to be here to help with Native Hawaiian mentoring, and it's great for me to be back to my homeland and be a part of this. So thanks.
I guess the first obstacle was in high school. It was easy to get good grades and not knowing how to study, and that was a struggle for me going directly into the School of Engineering as a freshman in my first year in college. So knowing how to study is a key thing that I would actually encourage young people to know as you are approaching the college years and in your college years, knowing how to study, because you need to prepare. If you prepare before you go to lecture with your professors, then you can engage your professors. Those who engage their professors during instruction time are the ones that are going to get the most out of that instruction time, because then you're going to have better notes, and when you prepare going into your classes and your lectures, it'll help you prepare before you take your exams. I think that was a big obstacle, learning how to study. That kind of ties in with having more self-confidence, building up your self-confidence that you can achieve at that level, and help yourself with the self-confidence part. Time management. I was on the football team and in the School of Engineering. That one was tough, especially if I had labs to do. Going down and telling my coach, I ain't coming to practice today. because I got a lab to do. That was more important. You know, Professor Liebert, if he was still here, he would tell you, in '79, when I was in the School of Engineering, 2 Hawaiians. He told me that 12 years ago when he came to LA, when I was living in LA, and there was a meeting of engineering alumni. There wasn't too many Hawaiians that were in the School of Engineering back in 1979. There were 2 of us, me and another guy. Time management, knowing how to study, you know. Obstacle, financial. You know, when I graduated, I had student loans. You know, and the tuition and books, right? And your living accommodations. I worked, I had a job in between of all of that. And you gotta balance that with your social life, you know, so. It's a lot different today than what it was for me 30 years ago. Those things.
Yeah, like everyone said before me, like Tim said, you know, getting a 4 out of 100 is a really bad blow to the ego. But, you know, probably everybody in here, they want to be the best at everything. And going through the engineering program, they teach you so many things that you can't really be the best at everything unless you want to kill yourself. But that was one of the bigger hurdles for me to get over is I couldn't be good at every single thing, every single class. And I had to really be okay with getting a D or getting a C. And you know, the engineer who graduates last in his class is still an engineer, right? So that was a big one for me, is just being okay with not having to have straight A's and being the first, being the top scorer on every exam. Then another one was being a girl in the College of Engineering. There was like maybe, of my friends, I mean, Lori's a year younger than me, but of my friends, there was about 5 of us. And that's still, there's maybe, that's not only my friends, but there's maybe 20 out of 300 boys. And it seems like it's getting better, but you're still in a male-dominant, world. So that was another one. And then learning how to study, learning how to find your answers yourself, because in high school it's easy to get an A, but in college you really got to work for it. That was another one, and I had to work too. I had to pay my own rent. I had to pay my own school until Josh gave me some money, and it was hard, and I sacrificed a lot. I had a lot of fun, 10 years of college and all, but I had to work. I had to work to provide for myself, and you know, it becomes a challenge when you're working to put the roof over your head this month, or you're working in school to have more money later. I mean, that was a challenge. I could go on.
Sorry. Challenges, definitely financial, and I think everybody goes through that. So I honestly can say that I never took out a loan. I found out, and I went to school for a long time. So my undergrad was 6 years, and my doctorate was 8 years. Out of that, I paid for 2 years. So there are ways, especially for Native Hawaiians, to get these monies, you know, scholarships and different ways, and then working as well. You know, that's tough, balancing all of that. And I think we kind of touched about, you know, how hard it is to make the decisions. I think one of the things that was a challenge for me was to convince myself that this time that you're going through is an investment in yourself. When I finally, you know, a series of wise people told me that, but I never really got it until almost the end of my doctorate. So that's 14 years of school or whatever. Shouldn't even say that. but I mean, if you, the sooner you get that, and the sooner you realize that that's what you're really doing, then the sacrifices are easier to take. Like, am I gonna go out instead of study, or am I gonna, you know, eat Simon for a semester so that I don't have to, all these other things. You know, so I think just reinvestment in that. Time management was a big thing for me because of that, because I couldn't prioritize myself. I wanted to surf, I wanted to go hunting, go back to Maui, go to Kapiolani. I mean, all these things that I was doing that helped build me took away from that too. So, that, and I think there's one more thing that was not touched upon, right? And like presentation and public speaking. I mean, today you folks did a really good job, and you were making some comments about that. But the more practice you get doing that now, that really pays off later on from working with the community. For those of you who did the wind turbines and stuff like that, all these hot topics that are good but have negative connotations to them in the native Hawaiian communities, you know, being able to communicate professionally in front of your peers and selling the jobs is one thing, and then talking to the activists in the group, family members, whatnot, you know, is another thing. So I think that's really something to work on and just observe as you go. That's a challenge that happened through school, and then when I got out. And the last one that I was thinking of is the support factor, yeah. And I think a big challenge for me was there were so many people who told me, you cannot do that. There's no way you can do that. You want to get a doctorate, you want to be you want to be an architect, please. You know, I was a good student in high school, but my demeanor is, as you can see, I speak pidgin, you know, I look like I don't care about a lot of stuff. If I was in my regular garb, it would just be a t-shirt and whatever, camouflage pants and boots, you know, whatever. But part of that though is not letting those things, the naysayers, get you down, because it's all inside of you, you know. Again, it's your self-investment. So what you make of it, Kaliho was saying, you prepare for the class, you prepare for the test, you stand up when you fall, when you get a, you know, very low grade or whatever. Because in the end, you're the one smiling at, you know, and you're the one who's gonna be a role model for your kids or your family, your friends, the people who you help when you start running scholarships or whatever. So I think all of those things really culminate my challenges.
I have one more thing to add to what John said. You know, another challenge that I had to overcome is I had to get over myself, and I had to be able to network with my peers, because like everyone said up here, is your peers and your classmates. They're the ones who push you through to the end. I mean,